Howdy fellas, I hope your week's been going well. The weather's fairly pleasant outside, having a little bit of Indian summer this week. Other than that, last weekend I was on Spirited Outdoors Live from Mississippi, and we were kind of talking about the new Kibler Hawking kit, and there was a commenter on there. I don't think I'd ever seen him on the live before. He made the comment, "Oh, don't get all tore up over those Hawkins. You need to read the book by so-and-so. Eastern Mountain Rifles." And I said, I've got 3 Tennessee Mountain Rifles. Does that count? Well, he didn't say nothing about that. He obviously had never watched the Uncle Sasquatch Outdoors channel to know that I've got a soft spot in my heart for those types of rifles. And I got to thinking about it later on. I kind of lied. Altogether, I've got 5 representations of that type of rifle. And I thought that I would show 4 of them today, or excuse me, 3 of them. You've seen all of them on the videos before, but I thought we'd talk a little bit about Eastern Mountain Rifles a little bit and show you some of them. Back in the day, in the late 1700s and early 1800s, around late 1700s, early 1800s was considered the golden age of flintlock and muzzleloading rifles. They were usually fairly highly decorated, had a lot of brass and inlays and stuff, and actually a person's status symbol, so to speak, or a guy's status symbol, was how nice was his rifle. You know, you'd like to kind of show off when you went to town and you had your rifle. But when it came to the mountainous regions of Appalachia and the eastern United States, that was isolated territory. People didn't have a lot of money. They made do with what they had. So their rifles would have tended to be more plain. And I like the insides carved, relief card rifles with patch boxes, inlays, and things like that on them. But, you know, at the end of the day, that doesn't make one shoot any better, any straighter. So out of necessity, a lot of the rifles in the Appalachian region were plain, because like I said, people didn't have a lot of money. The first one I'm going to show you is this kind of oddball. You can tell by looking at it if you're familiar with rifles. This is a Dixie mountain rifle stock. It's a flintlock, but the thing that makes it odd is the fact that it is 36 caliber. Dixie never offered these rifles in 36 caliber. I have a feeling somebody had one, didn't like the 32 caliber. They had the 50 caliber, didn't like it, so they rebarreled it to the 36 caliber. It has no markings on the top of the barrel, and I've never took it apart to see if there's any on the bottom. Probably is, but that's neither here nor there. And that's one that I ran across at the store I used to work at. Somebody brought in and put on consignment. And the second one that I have is representative of the works of Woodson, which would have been in western North Carolina. This is a Kibler SMR, Southern Mountain Rifle. It's a 32 caliber, 44-inch barrel, and you can see this thing is very, very thin and very, very plain. The only thing I did to it to adorn it a little bit, I put a toe plate on it, because the point of that stock is so sharp I was afraid it would break off. But they are, by necessity, very plain. It doesn't have a nose cap on it. This thing was actually scary to mess with, putting the barrel in, because the stock up the fore end is very, very thin. And that would have been representative of rifles of that general region. They made do with what they had, and it was minimalist, smaller calibers also, because powder and lead was expensive. The final one I got is kind of my pride and joy. This is a bean style Tennessee mountain rifle that was built by Mr. Ron Luckenbill up in Emporium, Pennsylvania for me. It's a 42-inch barrel, and it's 50 caliber. I've caught a lot of grief over that. People say, oh, they didn't have them in 50 calibers. You know, I mentioned that it was a remote region, and they made do with what they had. If a 50 caliber was all they could get their hands on, that's probably what they would have had, would have made. or if they had, say, a 45 or something, the barrel rusted out, shot out on it, they would have bored it out to 50 caliber, perhaps. But there are examples of 50 caliber. Now this one is a little bit more ornate, so to speak, than your average mountain rifle would have been. This one has a patch box on it. The banana style bean patch box would have been representative of the bean family from around Bean Station in Upper East Tennessee. As you can see, this is a maple stock too, but I had him finish it in such a manner that this gun actually looks older than what it is. This thing's probably about 10 years old, but it's dark. You can see some of the grain in the wood out in the sunlight, but intentionally made to look old. And those of you familiar with the movie Revenant, Mr. Luckenbill built the rifles for that movie. Of course, Leonardo DiCaprio that played Hugh Glass in that movie, they asked Mr. Luckenbill to cut those rifles down. He said, "I'll not do it." So they had somebody else do it. He built the rifles like Hugh Glass would have had, which was not a Hawken type rifle. It was more of an Eastern type rifle, along the lines of this. But I thought you might be interested in that little tidbit on Eastern mountain rifles, and you know, it's something different. You know, not everybody likes Hawkins. They're not my favorite rifles, but I do like them. I like all types of muzzleloaders, just some of them I like more than others. Anyway, I appreciate you watching. God bless you. Sometimes you get the bear, sometimes the bear gets you. Keep your powder dry and mind your top knot.